Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narenam Namaskritya Naram Shaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki.
Yeah, before I start, I just want to request humbly the blessings of all the devotees that are here, my seniors, so that we may hear and share something that's beneficial to our hearts. And before we get into the verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, I just wanted to share something. So we went to the springs this weekend. We went camping. And at Springs, we played this game where it was, you pull a card, the game is, I forget what it's called, it doesn't matter.
Strangers.
So, yeah, strangers. So, you pull a card, right? There's a question on the card. And it's a question about yourself. Like, I think that step is called connection. There's steps. Like, the first card, you answer about yourself. So, somebody, you get a card, and then you answer whatever it says. So it'll say something like, what is your favorite fast food order? Or whatever, and then you share. So that's the first step, you kind of get to know each other. And then based on what you heard, then there's perception, like questions like that ask perhaps things like, well, what do you think I'm most likely to spend money on? Right, so based on the things that you shared initially, then you get an idea, and then from there you share. Then the last step is from everything that you learn in the first 2 steps, what do you take from it? So I got a card. And the card, the question was, what can I help you with? And everybody had to answer, right? It was a little awkward to hear things that devotees around you think that you have as a strength and they can use your help with. To some degree, it's kind of like a glorification. So it was a little awkward. But nonetheless, I want to put all of you on the spot, and I want to appreciate you all really quickly before we start the class. So, one thing that I know that I can be helped with by Astasaki is the sense of adventure, willing to travel halfway across the world and then land somewhere and then travel across that country to then aspire to come closer to Krishna. So that's something that I can take away from you. Radhika, one thing I can take away from you that I can really use your help with would be to remain curious and never judgmental. Like, no matter how difficult the situation may seem, it's been my experience that you don't jump right into judgment, but you're more curious, and I really appreciate that. Tyler, you're always so willing to support me and teach me things on the harmonium or the mridanga, and that willingness to teach is something that I can take more of and I can use myself. Itai, such a great friend, always there to listen, and you're okay with listening, not trying to fix things. And I think I can take a lot from that. I can use your help in that sense. Another adventurer, Stephen, he one day I texted him, we came out to the side porch and I said, how would you like to go to Ecuador? And we booked the flight right there and then, and we just went. He had never left the country before. so that I think what I take away from that is like, I trust, like you trust me, and that's so interesting. The other one, Jax, just travel from Houston to then like spending time at the Krishna house, and then going to Philly and New York and Jersey, and now here. It's like we only just met a few months ago. So yeah, Sham, your sense of humor is amazing. I really love the way that you can get the best out of people. I really like that. Janardana, so sincere. So I just wanted to kind of start in this way, and I'm not done yet. I got a few more people to cover. Kiara, one thing I was learning about you is this sense of justice and righteousness. Like, something's got to get done. Somebody's got to do it. Like, you see something you don't like, something's got to be done about it. And I like that. I like that a lot. Well, Christina, oh my gosh, if I could take anything away from you, is the ability to make such complex topics like Bhagavatam simplified for whoever you're speaking to, whether it's mathematics, whether it's gaming, whether it's just anything. It's just, you're so intelligent that you're able to bring something that's so vast and so deep to make it very approachable. So I appreciate that. Tulasyananda, Hare Krishna, she put this whole trip together. Like, she was a one-man show, a warrior, and always just so humble and quiet about it. I upset her, and I didn't even know. To later. And I really love that. I really love that. In the moment, it wasn't a situation of like, oh no, things are wrong, I'm messing up, but she just let the day take its course, and then later on approached me and said, hey, this happened. I really appreciate that. Prima Rita, so enthusiastic, always dancing and jumping and excited to share with new people. So that's something I really appreciate. We got Govinda. So sweet. Govinda is a hard one for me to get to. It took me a while. It took me many months. And then as I started noticing how personal he is, he'll just hear in a conversation, just pay attention to the detail. I'll just say something like, yeah, I like strawberry flavored things. And then he'll go into a lachwa, get a strawberry flavored cookie, and then just show up. Months later, hey, I have this cookie. And I'm like, strawberry, I love strawberry. And he's like, yeah, I thought so. Yeah, meat. Meat is always so funny. it's always a nice sense of humor. But, yeah, and some of you weren't there, and I just want to also just appreciate the buddies like Advaita Prabhu, who's one of my guides, my lifelines. Many of the things that I speak in classes come from him, and I'm okay with going there all the time to share what he's kind of just planted in my heart, and I hope that my sadhana and the environment I'm in is such that it can nourish these things that you've planted in my heart so that they can grow and one day fructify. Zach, you're so funny. We were talking about we're so similar. We're talking about all the things that really that really don't make sense, right? Later on they make sense, and that's me. Sometimes I fail to have that foresight, and but your sincerity keeps you around, and I really appreciate that. Rasika Prabhu, ocean of knowledge and love and care. Yeah, and so everybody else here, if I missed you. Gopal. Oh man, I love Gopal. I love messing with him every morning. He's so patient, he tolerates, At 7:25, on the dot, the lights come on. And I've watched that over the years, so I make sure to kind of mess with him and block the lights. And like, every now and then I get an elbow to the back of the head or a kick to the chest. It's happened in the temple room. It's amazing. Yeah. I just wanted to start there, just with kind of lighten the mood and to share my appreciations, because at the Springs I didn't get an opportunity to, and I felt like it's only right that I try to reciprocate with all of you. So, with that being said, we can go into chapter summary of Bhakti Yoga. The summary, yeah. Well, we're gonna spend a lot of time on the summary, and please be patient, because I like to stop when something comes up and then speak on it, and then resume the reading. So if anybody would like to volunteer, if not, I can read. Thank you.
Thinking that the previously described spiritual practice based on detachment is too difficult, Uddhava inquired about an easier method. In reply, Lord Sri Krishna gave brief instructions on devotional service. The fruitive workers and mystic yogis who are bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and puffed up by their false identifications refuse to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. But the swan-like men, those who know how to discriminate between the essential and non-essential, always take shelter at the lotus feet of the Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord himself, within the living entity as the Chaitya Guru, and without as the spiritual master who teaches by example, eradicates all the misfortune of the spirit soul and reveals his own personal form.
Okay, I'm going to pause right there, because there's something that I want to share. And in that summary, it's talking about the Chaitya Guru, the Guru in the heart. So there's a Guru within and a Guru without. Has anybody ever had the experience that they're doing something that feels wrong, and it really feels wrong in their heart? Has anybody ever had that experience? It's like it all comes up, right? Okay. Has anybody ever had the experience that you're doing something right, and even though everything externally looks like no, it's not good, but you're feeling conviction, you're feeling support from within. So in the early stages of Bhakti Yoga, we lack the discrimination to understand what is what, because we can get confused between the dictations of the mind and confuse it with a direction from the Guru in the heart, or the Paramatma, right? And who's there to help us make that distinction is the Guru without, which is the same Guru that's in our heart but manifested externally. And I don't know if you ever heard about the term gut feeling.
It's very common. People say, I have this gut feeling, I have this gut feeling. Has anybody ever had the experience that the gut feeling is always right? That's my experience. My gut feeling is always right. It's like, I feel very confident in my gut feeling, but having a guru that's without, right? I express that gut feeling to the guru, right? And most times he says, okay, yeah, it makes sense. And then sometimes it takes more exploring, right? So in this process of bhakti yoga, whether we're confident that our intuition or our Chaitya Guru is guiding us the right way, it's always appropriate to check in with Guru, to check in with Sadhu, to check in with Shastra, right? Because again, we're so young. We're like babies. We're so young. We need someone to. I can speak for myself. I need someone to kind of put the bumpers in the bowling lane, right? To stay in the same, to not fall into the gutter, right? And the guru is always there to set up those safety, confirm, to set up those safety bumpers that are going to keep us on the path right to the pins to hit that strike back to Godhead. So I just wanted to share a little bit of that. Does anybody have any thoughts on Guru in the Heart, or any questions, or any comments or corrections? Sure. Can we get Adisham a mic, please?
Thank you. I heard a story about two Muslims. So one Muslim was living a very sinful life. He was taking intoxications, gambling, all kind of other things. And his friend came to him. He was a very religious Muslim. He says, listen, what are you doing? All those things. He's like, what do you mean? It says in the Quran, eat, drink, and be married. He's like, you fool. Did you read the rest of the verse? Eat, drink, and be married, and you'll go to hell. He said, well, dear friend, nobody can follow all the instructions of the Quran. So a guru comes in, because we can pick to certain things from the Shastra, which will lead us to hell. So we need somebody to point out these things that we actually have to change using this.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's like the Gita has been translated so many times, thousands of times, and it's not until we come in contact with this acharya, with this guru, that can really explain to us what it actually means and how to practically apply it. So that's Srila Prabhupada's mercy, and we'll get into the Guru's mercy, because in these verses coming up, it's a section that I want to focus on. But if there's anything else, please do share.
There were so many translations of the Bhagavad Gita already in English before Prabhupada, all over the world, and not one single one of them made a single devotee. Prabhupada came, he made thousands, touched thousands, literally millions of lives, at least.
Yeah, today's quote of the day was, more important than anything is bringing devotees, right, into Krishna consciousness. Christina, please. And then Rasika Prabhu.
Yeah, I think the idea of going with your gut and with your intuition is really important. That is a really important source of wisdom for us. And I also think it's important to remember that we do need some additional training and exposure to other perspectives, and some growth of the brain, etc., in order to be able to use that intuition the best. Because if we remember Adi Sham's class on the marshmallow experiment, right? If as a 4-year-old, and you have this marshmallow in front of you and you're struggling because you're like, I want this marshmallow, the best thing to do would be to eat it and to feel that pleasure. And a lot of little kids can't do that. And if you don't have that additional development and education and how to think a little bit, and even exposure to other people's perspectives, then you might kind of stay at a level where you're just like, well, my short-term gratification is what's important. That's what I feel in my gut. So and then even if you don't, the understanding other people's perspectives part is important, because we also there's things like unconscious bias, right? Racism and like sexism and stuff like that, where people can definitely feel in their gut that oh, this person is this person is similar to me, I just automatically trust them, and this person does not feel similar to me, I automatically don't trust them. So it's important to be able to hone that intuition through intentional development.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
In the beginning, in our conditioned state, Prabhupada explains that we have 4 defects that makes it impossible for us to be guided by ourselves from within. We are illusioned and our senses don't work properly. Therefore, we can make mistakes and cheat. And Guru is one who, if we choose correctly, Guru is one who has risen above those defects and is speaking directly from his Chaitya Guru within. Therefore, he or she becomes a transparent via media, like a window into the mind of Krishna. So when our hearts are consistent with our Guru and Shastra, then we can know infallibly that the decision that we make is actually Krishna's will. Also, Guru is one who is able to give a level of empowerment and mercy that we can't get anywhere else, because Krishna comes to us through the means of Guru. He doesn't come to us directly, he comes through the devotees. Therefore, when we receive instruction from our Guru, it always comes with the empowerment to fulfill.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Sometimes we get these instructions that seem very difficult. Very difficult.
I think of the example of Srila Prabhupada with his disciples. Even early on, they were just kids. And yet he would say, I want you to start a magazine. I want you to go start a temple over here. And it was like, Prabhupada, how am I going to do that? He says, don't worry, Krishna will help. And these young people, they spread Krishna consciousness all over the world by his empowerment and instruction. So we can trust that Krishna comes to us through the bona fide spiritual master and step out in faith and do great things for Krishna.
Yeah. At that point, it seems like it's not, well, what can I do? But Krishna, show me what you can do. Like, use me to do something, but like, not what can I do? So it's coming from the Guru. Wow. Any other points? Are you following everything all right? And you're following? Is there any questions or anything that is a little... Okay, cool. So then we'll continue with the summary. Thank you everyone for sharing. You can go, somebody else can read. Okay, just someone read.
One should execute all duties for the sake of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, keeping one's mind absorbed in Him. One should take advantage of the sacred abodes of the Lord, where His devotees reside, and one should serve the Lord and celebrate the festivals and holidays in His honor. By understanding all living beings to be Lord Krishna's place of residence, one can attain the ability to see equally everywhere, and thus all faulty qualities of envy, false ego, and so on will be removed. Bearing this in mind, the devotee should give up his proud relatives, his separatist outlook, and his mundane embarrassment, and should offer obeisances flat on the ground to all, even the dogs and outcasts. As long as one has not learned to see the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in all creatures, he must continue to use his body, mind, and speech to worship the Supreme Lord in that manner of offering full obeisances to all. Because this eternal process of devotional service to the Supreme Lord is transcendental and has been established by the Lord Himself, it can never, to the slightest extent, be defeated or prove fruitless. When one offers himself completely to the Supreme Lord with exclusive devotion, the Lord becomes particularly pleased, and thus the devotee achieves immortality, becoming qualified to obtain opulence equal to that of the Lord. After receiving these instructions, Sri Uddhava went to Badarikshram in pursuance of Lord Krishna's order and by perfectly carrying out the instructions of the Supreme Lord, he attained the Lord's transcendental abode. By faithfully serving these instructions spoken by the personality of Godhead to Uddhava, the greatest of devotees, the entire world can become liberated.
Yeah, thank you so much for your. Just looking for one verse that I was going to focus on. Okay, let's go to verse 20, please. Oh, okay. Okay, as you wish, either way. What is the meter for this?
क्रमे ध्वंसो
Nyangopakramedanso
मद्धर्मशोद्धवान्वपि मया व्यवस्थितः सम्यन् निर्गुणत्वात् अनाशिषः
Ango Pakramedvamso Madharmasyodhavanapi Maya Vyavastita Samya Nirguna Anasisa. Please chant. Word for word together, please. Now there is not indeed Upakrame Yatant Kamsa destruction Madharmasya of my devotional service Uddhava, my dear Uddhava, Anu, the slightest, Api, even, Maya, Pani, established, Samyak, perfectly, Nirguna Pat, because of the intrinsic mental, Anasisa, having all to remember. Translation, everyone together, please. My dear Uddhava, because I have personally established it, the process of devotional service unto me, transcendental, free from any material motivation. Similarly, the devotee never suffers even the slightest loss of that in this process. Purport. Although great sages and authorities have established various methods of human progress, the Supreme Lord Himself has introduced the system of Bhakti Yoga, wherein one directly takes shelter of the Lord in loving service. One who serves the Lord without personal motivation can never be defeated in his progress and will certainly go back home, back to Godhead in the near future. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Disciples of Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to say a prayer before I get into this verse. Yeah, something very interesting comes up for me when I read this verse. And I was just explaining to Jonathan the process of offering things to Krishna, right? And in this process of offering things to Krishna, one may think, if I offer something to Krishna, I'm losing from it. Like usually in this material world and just let's just call it in the secular world, when we give something, we just give it away. Nothing is guaranteed to come back, right? So in this process of Bhakti Yoga, when we're offering everything, we offer our mind, our words, we offer our bodies, we offer fruits, anything that is in this material world can be offered to Krishna like this, you see. But what happens is that in this process of Bhakti Yoga, when we give, he gives back like tenfold. So there's no fear of, if I'm giving something, I'm going to lose. So we may cook a meal for Krishna, or we may offer a flower, like, we were talking about the flower, right? But then who got the flower spiritualized back? You did, right? The example that I've heard is of a baseball, right? Like you have a baseball, and then there's a very famous player. Does anybody know any famous baseball players? Babe Ruth. Okay, yeah, sure, Babe Ruth. Sure, Babe Ruth, right? So when you give him the ball to sign, right? Is there fear that he's gonna take it and not like, oh, thanks for the ball, and walks away? No, he's gonna sign it. He's there to do that, to give back. So what happens with that very same baseball is that once it's signed, or once it comes in contact with this, let's say, personality who's got some level of opulence, some kind of fame, some power, right? And you get that ball back, that same baseball now has more value, right? What to speak of Krishna? When we offer him that flower, when it comes back, it comes with the ocean of unlimited love and mercy that he has to offer. So that same flower that we were smelling and passing around, that's why it's so mystical. It's like, oh, what's up with this flower? It's like, well, it's been offered to Krishna, right? And now it's more valuable than when we first picked it off the tree. So that's any thoughts or any questions or any comments before I go on? I wanted to share this really cool story. Okay, cool. So in the summary, there's a very interesting line. I found it very interesting. That says, because this eternal process of devotional service to the Supreme Lord is transcendental and has been established by the Lord himself, it can never, to the slightest extent, be defeated or prove fruitless. When one offers himself completely to the Supreme Lord with exclusive devotion, the Lord becomes particularly pleased, and thus the devotee achieves immortality, becoming qualified to obtain the opulence equal to that of the Lord. So, when we take up this process, we lose nothing and we gain everything. And an example that I wanted to share on this is I have a friend named Alex. We all have a friend named Alex who was, by, let's say, providence, by the way his life played out before meeting the devotees, he had come in contact with not so good association, and he got into trouble, and somehow he had to spend some time in prison. And then he got out on bond, and when he got out, he was just looking for, he didn't know what to do. I'll read what he sent me, which is, it's very amazing and powerful. But anyway, so he started coming around here, and the rest of his time, which was, I think, maybe like 23 days or anywhere between 18 to like 20 something days, he spent here, like living here and waiting his trial. And then when he went to trial, and they gave him a sentence, and then he has to live out that sentence, because he has to go through this process of rectification. Like his actions have reactions. So now he's doing that. And there's two things that I want to share in the story I'm about to tell. And one of them is called The Straw of Expectations. And another one is called, another point is that a devotee, when one who takes up this practice, loses nothing. Actually, the devotee loses fear itself. Like they become fearless once they take up this practice, no matter what their conditions are. So I wanted to share a little bit about my experience in Vrindavan, right? So I went to Vrindavan in February and I spent some time there. And have you ever heard, Jax or Jonathan, about Govardhan, or the pastime where Krishna lifts up a hill and then like all the residents take shelter under there? You ever heard that? Anyway, so there's this pastime where Krishna is his parents are doing some fire sacrifice for this one demigod of the rains, you know, and then Krishna's saying like, no, don't worship the demigod, worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You know, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has power over the demigods. So why go to the demigod when you can go to the source, basically? You know, so then they were like, he was so cute and convincing. They were like, okay, fine, we'll do it. So they did. But then the demigod got upset. So then he started like sending down like rains and torrents. Like he started flooding Vrindavan. The cows were like, everybody was going to drown. It was really horrible. So then Krishna came up and he just picked up this hill called Govardhan. Right? And he used it as an umbrella and he picked it up like nothing. He was just like, yeah, you see the picture? And then all the residents of Vrindavan, which are all his devotees, they took shelter under Govardhan, right? Because the rain couldn't even touch them. Like no, and we were talking about like massive, like what we experienced in this, it's like if the whole like universe was getting flooded like that. And this hill was able to shelter all of Krishna's devotees. And that's called Govardhan Hill. So Govardhan Hill is a place on this planet Earth. And that very hill is in India. So it's a very sacred place. And in the course of this pastime, Krishna describes this hill is none different than myself. It's worshipable, just as myself. And sometimes we see that there are stones from the hill that are worshipped the same way we worship these other forms, right? And they're called Giriraj Shilas. So I've had a little bit of an attraction to them, and like I love this pastime, and I'm always reading it. So I was like, I want to go to Govardhan. Like I want to go to this place in Vrindavan. But it just so happened that it was holy, so the streets, they get so packed, you don't even have to take a step, because everybody's like shoulder to shoulder moving, and you literally just float because there's so many people there. So and it was holy, so it's a festival, huge festival in India. Like there's so many people in India, and they all celebrate this thing. So it was like really packed, and that holy festival went on for like a week. So it was just nonstop, and nobody wanted to go to Govardhan during that time because you get powder on you, you get wet, they throw like itchy stuff, like it's just like, yeah, it gets kind of crazy. So nobody really wants to go, but I'm like, oh, but I just happened to be in Vrindavan at this time, like I want to see Govardhan. So nobody wanted to take me. Then there was one day that I could go, and I was like, okay, my friend told me, I'll take you. So we made the plans, and then it turns out, it's Ekadasi. We shouldn't travel on Ekadasi. Ekadasi is like a special day or something like this. So anyway, he wasn't down to take me, and I wasn't going to go by myself because I didn't know how to get there. So I said, all right, fine. Then let's go another day. And then he's like, all right, fine. And then he's like, oh my gosh, I have so much service for Gaur Purnima. Like it's a huge festival. So, and the reason why these things are important is he says it in the Bhagavatam is saying it in the summary itself, like celebrate these holy days, celebrate these festivals. You know, this is the process of bhakti. So I said, okay, like we have to celebrate these days. Like I'm happy to do that. But I had this like really strong desire to see Govardhan. And anyway, I had one day left in Vrindavan. I had hours left. And the whole time I was just like feeling kind of morose, kind of sad that my desire wasn't being fulfilled. I even became angry. So like, Govardhan, what's your problem? Why don't you want to see me? Like, I just want to spend time with you. Anyway, it didn't happen. So I made my way back to Delhi from Vrindavan, and then I stayed at a host. One of my friends, Yashi, he let me stay with his family, and they were really kind. And they asked me, they're like, oh, because they knew how bad I wanted to go to Govardhan. They're like, oh, so did you make it to Govardhan? And my flight was like that very next morning, like at 5 a.m. to go to Mumbai. So I would have been away from Vrindavan altogether. And I was like, no, I don't think he wants to see me, you know? And they were like, no, what? You're crazy. No, we have to go, you know? So then they said, okay. So then they would tell me they would go. They would take me. But then it turned out that it's like, oh, no, well, it's not going to work out. And then I remembered there's a devotee here. Her name is Kalindi. And she had asked me, she said, please, please, please bring me back some Radhakund. It's water from this sacred pond. And I said, okay, yeah, but I don't think I'm going to make it to Vrindavan. She's like, I don't care what you do, you have to bring me back some Radhakund water. So I said, okay, fine. So I went to, so then anyway, I started praying. I said, that's it. Like, it's not even me now. Like, now I'm going for Kalindi. And everything that they say in the scriptures has to be true, that you do what your devotees ask. So now you have to let me go. This is my way. And it looked like it wasn't going to happen, like till the very last minute. I got to Radhakund at like 10:40 p.m. And then to get back to Delhi would have been like another 3 hours. So, and then I slept like 2 hours and then flew to Mumbai. So it was like it was down to the last minute. So now I'm gonna pause and tell another story. Okay? Advaita Prabhu asked me to please bring Alex, my friend, going back to Alex now, who's in prison, a Tulsi necklace with the sign of Om. I looked with my Guru Maharaj all over Mayapur for it. We split up. We hit different shops. Nowhere was there Om. Nowhere. Looked in Vrindavan, Loy Bazaar, no Om. We hit every shop. And I was like, dang, this is really, like, this, it can't be, you know, like, isn't Om spiritual? Isn't this a spiritual place? What's going on? But everything was Radha Krishna, Radhe Radhe, you know, like Hare Krishna, like everything was, it was everything but Om. Then I went to Vrindavan, and then in Vrindavan there's Loy Bazaar. Loy Bazaar is like this place where you buy all these things. Everybody just buys gifts and brings them back, right? I hit like 10 shops. None of them had Om. They're like, no, we don't do Om in Vrindavan. And I said, okay. So then, now, I was already feeling kind of down about that, but I was more self-centered. I was thinking about like, Giriraj doesn't want me. I forgot about Alex. I just forgot about it. And you know, just like, I'm sorry, I even texted Advaita Prabhu, I'm sorry, I couldn't find it. I have left Vrindavan and I couldn't find it. So then I make it back to Radhakund that same day. And walking out of Radhakund, there's a shop right in front, and the guy's closing up. He's closing up the shop, and I tell him, hey, wait, this is my last shop. And again, I went into that same prayer. Krishna, you make it happen, because your devotee wants this. But if it doesn't, then okay, then I tried my best. Please accept my endeavor. So I'm like, hey, Baba, can I get, I'm looking for Om. He's like, no, get out of here. So I'm like, okay. So then a young boy comes from the back and he's like, what do you need? I said, I'm looking for a Tulsi necklace with a pendant of Om. He's like, oh, 1 second, let me see. I don't think so, but let me see. So then the guy's already closed up the shop, like everything is closed. And he's like, here, this. And I was just like, wow, like Radharani and Krishna are so merciful. Like they like, for their devotees, they'll do anything. So like Rasika Prabhu was saying, through the devotees, we get Krishna, right? I couldn't get him personally, but through their mercy, I experienced his mercy. So yeah, so that's the story of me and Vrindavan, right? And it's gonna lead to what I'm gonna read from Alex. He sent me a message. And Oh my gosh, I hope I don't go over time. Okay, so I spoke to him in New York a few days ago. He called me, it's like on Mondays he calls for free sometimes, and it's like a 1.5 minute call. Like it's no time, but it's like catching up really quickly. So anyway, he said, Hare Krishna. It was very nice to hear your voice. I will be calling next Monday. Sometimes I may try to get a hold of Stephen Prabhu at Krishna House. So if I don't call you, please don't be discouraged. But I'm able to put money on my phone on my end now. So I will probably do that whenever I call you. It'll be free for you. Just please pick up. So if I ever call you not on the Monday, it's because I've done that. It's very inspiring to read about your traveling and associating with different devotees in different states and places. And when I get out, I would like to spend time with the devotees in Texas, get to know them, and get close to them through Bhakti. I consider ISKCON one big family, and I would like to meet all my family members in ISKCON. So yes, I would love to go there, and really, really, really want you to come with me to Vrindavan and Mayapur. I would like everyone who was with me in my infancy in this Bhakti practice at Krishna House to come to India with me for my first time. But we'll see who will be available to go at that time when it comes. But either way, the experience will be amazing, and I wanted to be there because you guided me through my early stages of Krishna consciousness, and I consider you my big god brother, smiley face. You waiting to contact me is nothing to apologize for. I love you so much, and I knew in my heart that I didn't leave your thoughts because I always pray to Krishna and Radha to let you feel my presence. I know if it works. I don't know if it works, but whenever I'm doing japa in my head, I talk to Krishna and Radha, and I always tell them to take my presence and put it in yours, as well as others in my life, but you're one of them for sure. My time has mostly consisted of studying Bhagavatam and preaching and offering prasad to Radha and Krishna and chanting. Thank you so much for getting me Tulsi necklace, getting this Tulsi necklace for me. Radha wanted me to have it. Okay, so this is like the thing that I wanted to share. It's like this devotee's in prison, right? It seems like an awful condition, but just hear what's coming out of his heart. Radha wanted me to have it. So she put Kalendi's heart to desire you to fetch some water, and Advaita to inquire about getting me a Tulsi necklace, and then Radha led you all the way to her favorite spot where she used to wash herself. As Prabhupada said, one approaches Radharani first, and then Radha tells Krishna, my love, look, someone loves you more than I do. I've been teaching inmates here who are eager to learn about Bhagavatam, and telling them about Bhakti, Yoga, and Krishna Prema. I usually don't ever premeditate what I'm going to say, and I'm following in his footsteps right now. I usually just speak from my heart. I chant 20 rounds a day. I started doing that on February 21st this year, right after my first visit from you and Advaita at Columbia CI. Currently, I am at Blackwater River facility, not so far from Pensacola, but here it's pretty nice. There's AC, so that's awesome. LOL. I have a metal desk attached to a wall in my cell, so that's where I do my writing and studying. Right now, I'm writing a thesis on Jesus Christ and basically getting Christians to understand how Vedanta and the Bible correlate with each other, and how Krishna sent Christ to teach God consciousness, and how Lord Christ is the Guru Maharaj in their parampara. Using Bible scripture to prove my point and Vedic scripture to confirm my points, applying Prabhupada's as it is method to diffuse any biased, unopinionated statements. We must take scripture as it is, not what we want it to be. LOL in my Prabhupada voice. But overall, my time has been very much doing that. I think about our conversations we had in the summer of 2022 a lot, and I catch myself repeating to others the things that you've told me. I've never felt so free in my life. I don't ever feel sad that I'm in prison or ever get angry anymore. Back at Orlando, I ran into someone from the past, and I told myself if I ever saw them again, I would take revenge. But when I saw them, I said hello and started talking And the individual apologized to me and said, "It's okay, I forgive you. God bless you." He said that to them. "It's okay, I forgive you. God bless you." We became really close. And before he got transferred, I gave him one of my small pictures of Radha and Krishna. I've never in my life felt so strong and at peace. Before meeting y'all, I was always quiet and soaking in my thoughts of revenge and always scared to be open. But now, I feel like even in the bad things, there are good things. I can't wait to get out and get back in the association with you and all the devotees. The other day, someone asked me, "What is true love?" And I said, "True love is love of God. True love is to be in a relationship that is never ending. That relationship is our relationship with Krishna." I love Krishna so much, Kartikeya, that sometimes I cry when I think about Radha and Krishna. When I see pictures of Krishna in Vrindavan, it really shakes me up. I have never felt this for God in my whole life, but I know my grandmother did. Now I know why she was the way she was. Whenever I do my japa with a picture of Krishna and Radha, I choke up. I can't help it. I put together everything that led me to the point of meeting y'all, and I figured out that Krishna was helping me the whole time. There was one point in my life when I screamed out of my cell in solitary for 23-hour lockdown, "There's no God and God hates me." Right after that, the court first offered me 13 years in prison. Krishna and Radha never gave up on me, but what he did was take away everything and everyone from me so that I can get closer to him. Krishna gave me his mercy, and I think about it every day. I want to thank you for being patient with me and accepting me for my flaws and bringing me to the lotus feet of the Lord, which I didn't do, but it's very kind of him to say. All of y'all showed me that I have a purpose and that there is a reason for going on in this human body. Because when I met y'all, I was thinking there was no point for me being around anymore, but y'all showed me different and proved me wrong. I love you so much. Haribol, Hare Krishna. Please text me back. Love, Alex. So we're over time. I think maybe if anybody wants to say anything, we're over time. So Hare Krishna. Bhakta Alex ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go.